Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to this video on Bigtime. My name's Steve Woody, and today we're going to be talking about a question I get asked quite a lot, and that is, if I had $1,000, where would you invest it? Now, I am going to give you at the end of this video a list of things that I would recommend right now, but I also want you to understand that the purpose of this video, which is going to be about an hour long, is really to give you the tools and the understandings to be able to make your own decisions. The market is always evolving, always changing, and so what I tell you today might not be accurate by the time you come to enter into this game. I'm also very much aware that I've put videos out in the past that have affected the price of things, and whilst it is not my intention to manipulate the market in any way, there's very low volume right now, and so when I give people tips and tricks and things to do, it can have an impact on the price. So what I tell you today and what I show you today, it might not be the same by the time you watch this video, and just bear that in mind. It's why it's important that you don't just have a list of go and buy this, but rather you have an understanding so that you can go away and say, well, all right, based on this information, I understand this and understand that. It's more about the tools and the training that you have here today that's going to serve you better than the actual list of items. But I will cover that at the end. Just a few things I want to get out of the way first. Obviously, this is not financial advice. I don't have a clue what I'm talking about. I might be completely wrong in everything that I say. It is not possible to know the outcome, whether the market is going to go up or down. It is not possible to know whether these are good or bad investments at this time. Crypto is a high risk asset class anyway. Gaming in crypto is an even higher risk, and a game that hasn't launched yet, where the team can affect the economy without even telling you about it, is probably one of the highest risks. So just bear in mind that any money you put into this project, consider it lost. If you get anything back from it, it's a bonus. But if you go into it with that mindset, then you won't overextend, you won't end up emotional based on your leveraged position, and you won't end up getting wrecked. That's really what I care about here. I don't want anyone to get wrecked. We're all here to have some fun. It's great fun when you're making money, but please understand this is a zero-sum game. For you to make money in this game, somebody else has to lose money in this game. Now that's okay, because not everybody is playing this game to make money. But if you are interested in the economy and you want to profit from that economy, understand there will be winners and losers in any game. And for you to be profitable, you have to go beyond just winging it and hoping for luck. There has to be an element of research that you do to make informed decisions, and that's what I'm going to give you today. So with that being said, let's jump into this. Now, we are in pre-season and the game is still a bit buggy. The team are working on this, but there are some things we need to consider. So the question that I get asked all the time is, if I had $1,000, how would I invest that? I think, first of all, before you look at investing, you need to understand what you're investing in. Okay, so this is a game. The purpose of the token in this game is not for it to go up or down, it's for it to go sideways, for it to be stable. So let's start with the token price. It's currently sitting at 15 cents. Now, if we look from when the token launched, we know that the token launched at approximately 7 cents. Now, okay, we know from 7 cents at launch, it's currently sitting at pretty much double the value of that. At one point, it did peak up to 30 cents. But right now, we can see this is a beautiful graph. And the reason it's beautiful is because we had that initial peak that you always see at a launch, the IPO. And then we saw the 50% correction, which is fully understandable. And then we saw this incredible sideways movement. This sideways movement for me represents stability, and it shows me that the team are absolutely on point with everything they're doing. As much as people might cry in a Discord and people might be upset that they can't make money or things aren't working the way they're intended, and yes, there are problems, this shows me, the data shows me that the team are doing the right thing, because this is going sideways. My only concern right now, personally, is it's going sideways at a higher level than it should be. I think that the token is, personally, I feel like it's overvalued at 15 cents, and I am expecting a correction. I might be wrong. Again, everything I say here today is just my opinion, and my opinions, whilst often they make sense, they're not always correct. Just want you to understand that. You need to make your own decisions on this. But what I see happening right now, and let me explain my theory and my thesis behind this. If I go to the homepage of Bigtime, it tells me we're in pre-season. One of the most important things that you can do here is go across to the community and open up the wiki. All right, we're going to talk about that in a minute. But the other thing I want to talk about right now is the leaderboard. We're also going to be working inside Google Sheets today and doing some information in there. So I'll give you as much of that as I can. But let's just look at this leaderboard and why it's important. All right, so there is going to be a total of 97,500,000 tokens unlocked. All right, so let's just go ahead here and we're going to type in here a little formula. I will put this formula into the description of the video, but this is going to load the price of Bigtime. All right, so this is the price of Bigtime. We can see here it's pulling from CoinMarketCap, the currency for Bigtime. So that is the current price of Bigtime right now. All right, so let's look at the leaderboard. All right, we know on the leaderboard there is going to be an unlock of, we said, 97,500. Okay, that's the token unlock. Now we know that there's going to be 3 months of leaderboards. There's going to be 3 separate leaderboards. It runs from the 10th to the 10th, which means, given the date of this video that I'm recording, this first month's leaderboard is coming to an end. We now know that because there's going to be 3 months of this, so this is going to be a total Bigtime, right? So we know that because there's 3 leaderboards, we can divide this number by 3. And it helps if I do that correctly. So equals this divided by 3. All right, so this is each leaderboard. Okay? We now also know that there's going to be vesting. Vesting means that the tokens are locked and they are released over a period of time. Now we know that 25% of the tokens will be released at the end of that leaderboard. So when the leaderboard ends on the 10th of November, a couple of days after, which was confirmed by the team, within a couple of days, those funds will then be released. And that's going to be 25%. So that is going to equal this number divided by 4. All right, so this is going to be the 25% vesting. Now we normally see with tokens, VCs or any investments, they'll have a huge investment which will happen pre-launch, normally at the seed round, and then there'll be a vesting period where that token will unlock at certain dates, and that will be known as the cliff. The reason it's known as the cliff is because the token price will go like this, and then the vesting, the VC funding will unlock. They will dump their tokens on the market, and we'll see a vertical drop, which is the cliff. It'll go along, drop, and that's normally where we see the correction. There is no VC funding here. There is no, that I'm aware of, there was no token allocation. So the token allocation, the token drop, the VC cliff and vesting period is coming down to the leaderboard. And so that's what we've got here. All right, so now that we know that this is how it's going to work, so let me just explain this to you. Let's pop over here, and what I'm going to do is, let's look at leaderboard 1, okay? We'll do leaderboard 2 and leaderboard 3. Because this is really important information for you to know, and hopefully you can see this okay. I actually might make this just a little bit bigger for you. Hopefully that makes it a little bit easier. Okay, and so now what we know is that on the 10th of November, we're going to get 25%, which is going to come out of leaderboard 1, okay? That's going to be instant, okay? And then a month later, so after 1 month, we're going to get the next 25%. After 2 months, so another month later, we're going to get another 25%. And another month later, we're going to get another 25%. So it's going to take, in total, it's going to take 3 months, okay? From now, instant, we're going to have 1 month, 2 month, 3 month, okay? The next leaderboard starts when the first one finishes. And so that is going to follow this format. And then the same here. So this is now going to be month 4. And this is going to be month 5, okay? So instantly, a month later, 2 months, 3 months, 4 months, 5 months. We're going to see 25%. And we know that this is a token number, okay? So we know we're going to see 8,125,000 tokens unlocked here, yeah? We also know that we're going to see this twice here, 3 times here, 3 times, oh, hold on. let me just go back. 3 times here. We're going to see it twice again here and once here. This is what it's going to look like. All right, and when we add these up, you get the idea. So the worst, the absolute worst that we're going to see here is going to be this period here, where we're going to see a total of, what is this? 24 million tokens. 24 million tokens are going to be released at the end of the second month, which is going to be the first vesting period of the third leaderboard, which is going to be the third vesting of the first, the second vesting of the second, and the first vesting of the third. So almost 75% of that leaderboard is going to be released at one time. So just bear that in mind. We're not going to see the biggest drop instantly. I think what's going to happen is people are expecting a big token drop. It's not going to happen on month one, and they're going to go, oh, actually, that's okay. And what we're going to see is the token continue to do its thing. And then by this point in month 3, we're going to, So what do I feel is going to happen as a result of this? Well, let's put this into some monetary value, shall we, before we do anything else. So right now, we know that these are the total amount of tokens, all right, and we can times this by this number in here. Let me just do this. And that is going to give us a value, which, for some reason, isn't working. 1 second. So that times this. Do you know what? 0.154. Let's just type it in. We'll do it that way. All right, so equals that times by this. I think it's just because it's a formula. It wasn't working. There we go. Right, so this is going to be currency. I'm going to do it in US dollars. All right. So now that we know this, we can go ahead and do the same for here and same for here. So we know that there's going to be a total based on today's current valuation of the token. It's a $15 million leaderboard. It's a $15 million leaderboard. Each leaderboard is worth $5 million, which means that each vesting period is going to see $1.2 million of token dropped onto the marketplace. Okay? Now, what's going to happen? Are people going to sell that token? Maybe. I mean, yes, they will. But is everybody going to sell? Probably not. We may end up seeing 50% of people sell their token. Some people are going to use those tokens inside the game. We know this already. People from their initial airdrop are still using them in the game. Not everybody cashed out. Some people are using it for crafting. Some people are using it to enter portals. People are using their Bigtime tokens within the game. Some people will cash out. The people that cash out, some people will extract and leave. And that's okay. Other people will extract into US dollar, put it back into open loot, and start sweeping the floor buying assets. So they will be reinvesting into the game. So while the token price might go down a little bit, we might see people sweeping the floor of assets. So the floor of the asset prices might go up. So even though the token price might go down, we're going to see this battle between, because right now the token price affects everything. Yeah, how many tokens you can generate in a dungeon is dependent on your hourglasses. So the value of the hourglasses is related to the amount of Bigtime that you can earn. The amount of Bigtime you can earn depends on the value of the Bigtime, which also affects the price of time wardens, which affects the price of everything. So everything right now that we're seeing in the economy is connected. And that is why it's important to understand this before you make any investments. It's important to understand this before you make any investments right now. All right, so with that being said, we now understand that there is potentially going to be a bit of a drop-off in terms of the value next week. Now, it might not happen. Maybe the team do something, maybe nothing happens, maybe it drops, maybe it doesn't. But we could see this go down to something like 10 cents. We could, and I fully expect to see this drop by especially month. If we're looking at, say, month 3, at the end of month 3, I am expecting this token to sit, based on current market valuations today, at around 5 cents. Now, we're just about to enter a bull run, and NFT, and specifically Web3 gaming, is getting a lot of attention at the moment. So there's a lot of new money coming into this space. Now, it could be that whilst there's some sell pressure on this token, the bull run could pump this token up. We might end up seeing some scenarios that are not expected as a result of this. That being said, I know my thesis, what I believe, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens. Who knows? Maybe the team intervene. Maybe they do something. Maybe they buy up some of the tokens to create some buy pressure. Maybe there's other ways that people come into the game. Maybe the token drops. Maybe it doesn't. We don't know. We simply don't know. But I am going to take that into consideration when I look at what I would invest, because what I'm going to advise you on today is if I was getting into this game now with $1,000, what would I spend it on right now? That's the purpose of this video. And so I need to know all of the information. This is me doing my due diligence, doing my own research, looking at, okay, this is where the token is right now. And I'm basing this on 2 things. Look, let's look at this economy from a macro perspective. There are two defining factors here, and it's as simple as this. There is the business entity, right? You've got your business entity, and you've got your community. Now, as a business, Big Time Studios, they have one outcome. It's simply to make money. They need to be profitable. The reason for that is because if a business is not profitable, it is not a business. Okay, it's as simple as that. They have to be profitable, and we have to be okay with that. The studio needs to make money to survive, to pay wages, to be able to develop and innovate and move forward. They have to do that. That's okay. As long as they're not, shall we say, generating revenue at the cost of investors and other people. Like, it's okay that the company make money, but as long as they are not taking the piss, shall we say. So what we also need to ensure is at the same time as the company are profitable, the community are also able to generate returns. And as I told you, this is a zero-sum game, meaning that for someone to win, someone else has to lose. For one person to profit, someone else has to be at loss. Not everyone wants to be in profit. Some people are quite happy playing this game, buying cosmetics, and just enjoying the free-to-play aspect. They're not bothered about the earning. Also, some people that are going to be earning are going to be looking at the longer term, some people at the shorter term. There's a lot of different equations to consider when you're thinking about this. But this is not simply a factor of we're just going to extract. I want you to understand, and this is the biggest problem that happened in the last bull run, with the whole Axie movement and everything with guilds and in the Web3 space. And look, I'm an investor. I put 7 figures into multiple Web3 games. I can tell you right now, as an investor, as a guild owner, as a player and a gamer, I can tell you right now, the thing that killed Web3 gaming, apart from the bear market, was the mindset that scholars had that it was an extraction-based environment and they could just take when a project launched without giving a shit about that project. Every single project that we saw, from Axie to Peg Axie to everything else that happened as a result, was simply just a cancerous extraction across the entire ecosystem. And it just sucked the life out of the projects before they had a chance to launch. And we saw it over and over and over again with all the different projects out there. Specifically, it was bots. It was a few small individuals, very intelligent individuals, who were just using bots to extract out of these economies, right? And then the game developers struggling to try and fight that. We saw it across multiple different projects. So what I'm saying here is that for this to work, the game studio have to focus on those bots and the bot issues. And the community have to understand that you can't just extract. You cannot have this mindset that I'm going to take and not give back. There is a fable. I've talked about this many times. It's the golden goose analogy. You do not ever kill the golden goose. You simply just take the golden eggs. Never bite the hand that feeds you. Learn that fable, understand it. The mindset is a really, really important one for you to adopt here. So what we're looking to do is to be able to extract a percentage of our income, but then also reinvest for 2 reasons. One, to spend, because this is not a play to earn game. It is a pay to earn. So you have to be able to spend to make. That's okay. But also to accumulate. So we want to be able to extract and take profits. We want to be able to pay to invest to support the ecosystem. And we want to accumulate so we can get bigger. They're the 3 things that we need to be considering here. All right, so how does that work? Well, we need to think about our entry point. There's a really good thing in economics, which is specifically in the housing market. You don't make your money when you sell a property. You make your money when you buy the property. Now, to understand that, what that means is that if you can buy a property under market value, then you're going to be able to sell it and make more profit as a result of that. So it's about what you can buy something for, not necessarily what you can sell it for, as long as it can hold or appreciate in value. With that being said, we need to now pop over and have a look at the marketplace. So I've talked about the wiki before, but I'm going to talk about this a lot today. We're going to cover this. The wiki is going to be a very important thing for us to look at. But first of all, we're going to look at the marketplace. So if we look at the marketplace right now, and we've got $1,000 to invest, what are we going to invest it in? Well, the hot commodity right now and the thing that everyone is talking about is time wardens. So let's have a look at time wardens. Okay, we're going to go to the marketplace, we're going to look at time wardens, and we're going to look at the price of these. So right now, we can see Lunar Time Wardens, which is a common time warden. They're currently selling for $450. $450. There is 48 of these on the market right now. Important to understand is this is not the total supply. The team have not yet released the total supply, meaning that at any point, and I talked about these levers, the team can pull these levers to change the economy at any moment. They could drop an additional supply of Time Wardens onto the market. When you understand supply and demand, the reason that the price of these has gone up recently is because there is a huge demand, but there is not a big supply. Therefore, because of this, people understand how much money they can currently generate. What do I mean by this? Well, let's have a look. If we go to the marketplace again and open up the output of Time Wardens, which is hourglasses, we type in hourglasses and we look at a common hourglass. They are currently selling on the market for $14. $14. It costs $2.50 to create these. $2.50. So let's go back to our spreadsheet. All right, and let's have a look at Time Wardens, because this is what we need to understand. So for a Time Warden right now, you're going to pay on average $450. Okay, an hourglass. So an hourglass can generate in a region of $14, but it costs $2.50 to create that, which means if we look at profit, oh, sorry, this is every 48 hours. So time is 48 hours. Okay. So per day, profit. Well, first thing we're going to work out before we do per day profit is we're going to work out. So this is what we can sell it for at the moment minus our costs. Okay. Oh, which means we're looking at $11.50 profit. So, and this is per day. And then because that's every 48 hours, because that's the time it takes to craft it, we're simply just going to divide that by 2. All right. So now that we have this understanding of our, and that's obviously time, which needs to be a number. Perfect. So now that we understand this, we know that we can make right now $5.75 per day per Time Warden. Per day per Time Warden, based on the current market situation, right? So now what we need to do is we need to work out, well, okay, well, if we have this price and we divide it by this, how many days is it going to take us to break even? It's going to take us 78 days. A lot can happen in that time. A lot can happen in that time. 78 days to break even. At any point in time, this could go down in value. They could introduce an additional supply of Time Wardens, which could then make this less valuable. And if that happens, let's take in consideration that they're now worth 200. It's only going to take you 35 days now to break even. But what's going to happen? You're probably going to see if the Time Wardens are worth this, hourglasses will also probably go down. We've seen them as low as $7 before. If they go down to $7 again, like they were before, it's going to take even longer. So you need to understand you're looking at about 3 months to break even. Now, the difficulty here is what if these, okay, let's look at another scenario here. What if these still cost $4.50? Yep. But the hourglasses are now down to $7. You're looking at 200 days to break even. So this is kind of looking at what I would consider a worst case scenario. Now, what happens when the market gets squeezed to a point that the hourglasses are only going to make around $3 of profit? $3 of profit, $2.50 to cost. You're making 25 cents per day. I'm not saying this is going to happen, but I'm saying I want you to consider what happens if this does become the thing, right? Now, if these do become 200 again, you're still looking at over 2 years to break even on a common Time Warden. I want you to understand where we could potentially be going with this, because this is stability, okay? There is only a finite amount, and obviously with more players, we're going to see this euphoria stage, and there's definitely money to be made here, but you have to understand what we're looking at and where we could potentially be going. This is risk management, right? What we're doing right now. We're looking at worst case scenarios. What could happen? And we're not basing an entire business model on a current situation, which is temporary. The price of Time Wardens, the price of hourglasses, the price of Bigtime right now is a temporary construct. It will change. And we need to consider, if it goes down, what does that do for us? Because nobody wants to buy the top. But we have to look at opportunity costs. See, I could tell you right now that with a common Time Warden, with space and cracked hourglasses, I'm able to generate, on average, about $1 per hour. On average, about $1 per hour. So if I could generate $1 per hour, then I want to understand, when I'm thinking about opportunity cost, if I was to sell my Time Warden and then buy it back later, well, okay, let's say I sell it at $400 and I buy it back at $200, I might make $200 of profit, right? But I also know that I can make approximately $1 per hour. Let's say one Time Warden, okay? That will generate me $1 per hour. I work on average of 10 days. That is going to be $10 per day, okay? Per Time Warden. Now, I know that from where I am right now, I've got about 2 weeks, let's just say 15 days, until Postcards. I'm going to talk to you about Postcards in a minute. Don't worry. I'm going to explain what they are in a minute. But that means that if I can make $10 per day right now, that means that in 15 days, that's going to be $150. Okay? So if I was to right now sell my Time Warden at $400 and look to possibly buy them back at $200 in 20 days, possibly, I'm going to have saved myself, well, I'm going to have made $200, but I could have, if I kept it and just used it to earn, I could have made $150. So right now, it's better for me to sell them right now at the current valuation and hope that the price comes back down. Again, I'm going to stress this. I might be wrong. I don't know what I'm talking about. I don't know what's going to happen. These are just theses. They're just examples. They're just situations that could potentially happen. You have to make your own decision. So I'm not really interested right now in logging in every 2 hours to dismantle a cracked hourglass. It also requires you to have a lot of space. So for me right now, this isn't a valuable option. Let's also look at renting, because renting's another option. I could go here right now. I could go to the rental screen and I could look at Time Wardens. So Time Wardens right now are renting, I think somewhere like maybe $150, something like that. If I have a look at the lowest price here. Wow, look, $170. Wow, okay, a lot more expensive than I thought. $170. So let's look at this now. So I could rent this for $170 per month, right? Okay, so let's look at what I'm doing on this basis here, which is the current basis right now. I'm making $5 per day. All right, so I'm spending $170 per month, okay, 30-day rental. So let's take that and let's divide that by 30. All right, that means it is costing us, the cost to rent right now is $5.67 per day. The profit that I can potentially make per day is $5.75, all right? So this is my cost, this is my profit on renting. Okay, so we take our profit, we remove our cost, minus cost, we can make 8 cents per day right now on a rental. If we were to rent and just generate common Time Wardens at the current price, we are making 8 cents per day. There's no justification. It makes no sense for us to rent right now. The rental market is too expensive. We're not generating enough profit. If the price of cracked hourglasses goes down, even just a slight bit down, all right, let's say this goes down to $10. Now you're at a loss. $11, you're at a loss. $12, you're still at a loss. $13, you are still at a loss. $13.50 at a loss. $14, you're making slight profit. All right, $13.90. I think it's like, what is it? $13.80. You're at a loss. That's your error of margin. It's too risky to be able to do that right now. So rentals, not a good idea. Not with the current price. Also, you're renting it for 30 days. You don't even own the asset at the end of it. Some people bought these Time Wardens for $20, $30, $40, even $50. All right, so they're the people that are profiting right now. Therefore, the current meta, which is hourglasses, is not really one you want to be looking to get involved in right now. If you've got $1,000 and you want to get into this game, I do not recommend buying Time Wardens and hourglasses. I just simply don't. So, all right, let's go back and talk about postcards, which I mentioned. So for that, we need to come back to the wiki. I've talked about this in other videos. We're going to look at the economic overview, the economic components, and the airdrops. We're going to look at postcards. So right now, Time Wardens, as we know, there is a demand, but there is a supply issue. Now, this has been extended. It was meant to end today. but it's been extended until November the 20th. So we have an additional 2 weeks. What is going to happen in 2 weeks' time? Well, there are going to be 2,400 boxes released. These boxes are going to have a time warden in them. There is also a 10% chance that there may be a time warden in these deluxe gift mystery boxes, common ones. The grand gift has higher tier, so whilst there's still 10% chance of a time warden, it won't be a common. So you have a 10% chance of a common in here. You have a guaranteed common in here, which means we're going to see somewhere in the region of around 2,500. In the platinum, they do get some as well. So you're going to see 2,400, maybe another 100 or so. I don't know, because of the 10%. So let's just say 2,500, which means we're going to see an additional 2,500 common time wardens around the 20th. Now, I did check with the team and they did confirm it might take a couple of days for this. So, you know, give or take a week after the 20th. Give or take a week. That is going to create additional sell pressure on the market. Now, initially, that is going to be swept up by people that are waiting to buy. But I want you to understand, because of these postcards, we can expect to see time wardens, as a result of this, come down in value. Okay, we can expect to see time wardens come down as a result of this in terms of value. Now, right now, as we can see, the market of this sits at about 450. All right, we can currently see what they're selling for. People are sweeping the floor. We do know what's happening here, but at the moment, there's only 47 for sale, and it's not that far. It's only like it only takes someone to come in and sweep like 10, 20 of these, and we're up to almost $500. Okay, so I need you to bear that in mind. All right, so now that we understand time wardens and we understand what's happening here and how this isn't effective right now, it's probably better to wait. But what do you do while you wait? Well, there's other things that we need to consider. Another thing that you want to look at is what's going to happen in the future of this game. The meta right now is time wardens and hourglasses, but that doesn't mean that's going to be the meta moving forward. The team have already said the focus is going to be on crafting within this game. So if we go and we actually look at Bigtime themselves, go back to their homepage, and we scroll down, there are kind of 3 areas to consider within this game. Okay, and I look at this from the crafting perspective. We have rarity, which is common, uncommon, and rare. I consider this to be the bottom tier. Common, uncommon, and rare is the bottom tier. Epic, legendary, and mythic is the middle tier. And exalted, exotic, and transcendent is the top tier. Unique is a class of its own. I'm not going to include it in this. So we have the lower, the middle, and the top tier. So you need to first decide, well, where do you want to sit? There will be the most volume, but also the minimum amount of profit around the common, the low tier. It is very expensive to get into the top tier, but that's where the most money can possibly be made. Wildy Shark, as a perfect example, has invested somewhere in the region of $500,000 buying up the exotics and the transcendents in the marketplace, and he owns well over 10% right now of the total supply of those items. So with that being said, there are people who are accumulating the top end of the assets. I think a good place to sit, if you have $1,000, is you want to be looking in the middle of that grid. $1,000 should be enough right now to get you in to the middle of that grid. You want to be sitting around the legendary. This is what I would look to do. If you have $100 to invest, you're going to be looking at the bottom tier. If you have $1,000 to invest, you're going to be looking at the middle tier. And if you have $10,000 to invest, you're going to be looking at the top tier. But you need to look at what you're going to generate in terms of returns for that. Obviously, the more you can invest, the bigger your operation can be. All right, so let's go and have a look then at what is going to be the next potential meta. Well, the team have already spoken about and talked about needing crafting and crafting being important. So for me, if I go to the marketplace, one of the things I'm going to look at right now is space. We have to consider space. Now, you could argue right now that space is actually quite cheap. It's not as cheap as it was, but when we look at when it launched, for example, Exalted Small Spaces, when they launched at about $2,800. I bought mine for about $2,000. They're currently sitting at $800. So everyone that bought space right now initially pretty much been wrecked. There's a really good website called dashloot.com. Dashloot.com. It's made by the guild VIG, Vast Impact Gaming, big guild. Great guy, and especially Jedi and the rest of the team over there. Great people. Very much recommend checking them out if you haven't already. A lot of great guilds in this game, by the way. But they are definitely up there in terms of the analytical data that they're providing. Now, unfortunately, right now, this information is outdated. The reason for that is if you click on market, you can see it was last updated on the 31st of October. The reason for this is that the team have turned off the API on the marketplace. This is to prevent bots and scripting at a low level, and it's a temporary measure, but it also means that they can't pull data. So all of the information on Dashloot right now is outdated. You can still use it to get an idea, but you can't rely on it. So let's go ahead right now and let's look at these rare spaces. So I'm going to look at a rare large space. All right, so we're going to start here. I'll move this over. We'll get rid of the homepage, the airdrops. We talked about time wardens. We don't need to look at anything else there. All right, let's look at this. We don't need to look at the rental marketplace. Okay. So right now, if I'm looking at rare spaces, look at the large space. So a cheaper space right now, $73. Now let me explain to you a couple of things you need to understand about space. Because again, this is all about being informed, right? So personal metaverse, in the wiki, economy components, personal metaverse, space. And two things I want to look at. One of them is going to be, scrolling down here, one of them is going to be this, because this is important. And the next thing I want to look at, which is going to be important, is the set bonus, which we're also going to talk about. Set bonus. So let's start here. What this basically says is that the number of exits that a space will have is determined by its size and its rarity. Now, pretty much most of these, it's based on the size. The number of exits is based on the size, except for the Exalted, which is slightly higher. Okay, you have one additional exit based on Exalted as everything else, but everything else is the same. A small gives you 2 exits, a medium gives you 3, and a large gives you 5. Why is this important? Well, if we look at the market right now, let's go back to the market, you could argue that a small space will give you 2 exits. Now, if you wanted to buy 2 small spaces, you would use one of those exits to connect the second space, meaning you could only attach one workshop to a rare small space. Only one workshop. Now, you might look at a rare medium space, and you might say, but hold on, it's $800 for a large. Wouldn't I be better off just buying 4 medium spaces? Well, let's work this out. If we look at the space for a rare large will give you 5. A medium will give you 3. Okay, let's say you bought 4 of these. You would only be able to attach 2 to the first 3 and then 3 at the last one. So 3 at the bottom at the end and then 2, 2 and 2. All right, which means in total, you could have 9 workshops on 4 medium spaces. Whereas if you have one large, you could have 5 attached to it because you'd only have the one large space. But the reason that the large, I believe, is still a better investment is because if you look at this, this is called a set bonus. This is based on a mythic because a mythic can have up to 6 exits. Now your exits, one of the things you'll understand is every workshop will have a collective. Now these are not in the game yet, which means people are not focusing on this yet. If you focus on this now, when it becomes meta, you'll be prepared. Very much like the people that prepared by buying Time Wardens at $20, they are now reaping the rewards of that decision. It is now too late to be getting into the Time Warden, I personally believe. And so the next meta is going to be crafting, set bonuses in spaces. And so these are the things you want to consider. Now, to get an inefficiency at the moment, to get the best out of this, you can get a 20% less big time and time crystal cost on crafting, but you need 4 blue spaces. To have 4 blue spaces, you need to have at least 4 exits. At least 4 exits, which means you need a large. So I'm not looking at medium for that reason alone. You can also mix and match. There's different opportunities. You could have like a 4 and a 2 or whatever else. And these are going to be efficiency, quickness, fortune, and there's going to be additional bonuses, which it does say will change each season. So these are going to change. But you definitely want to consider these because this is going to be important. All right, so with that being said, what does that mean? Well, let's go back over to Dashloot. look at the rare space and look at what it launched at. And highest it launched at all time was $1,300. Okay? The lowest it ever was $190. When people gave up and they weren't interested, $190. Just this month alone, $382 was the floor. Right now, if you look in the marketplace, right now, it's selling for $840. It is selling high. Not that far under all-time high. It's definitely high. It's a lot higher than it was at its minimum. And so this doesn't necessarily mean this is a good purchase right now. Specifically, if you look at the price of this is $840 for a rare, well, let's look at an epic. An epic's only $900. So if it's $840 for a rare, you may as well pay the extra $60 and go for an epic, right? Or maybe. But let's look at a legendary. It's actually cheaper right now to buy a large legendary space than it is to buy a large epic. Mythic does go up in value, so let's look at legendary. Because if you're going to pay $840 for a rare large, would you not be better off paying an extra $50 and getting a large legendary? And there's volume. Let's have a look. 900. Look, all of these are sitting at 900 right now. There's a lot here at this price. This is not bad when you consider the price of these. There's a lot of space here. It's possible. What I would be doing, what I would be looking at right now, if I was in the space of wanting to invest $1,000, would I be buying these? Would I be looking at these and thinking this is a good investment? Possibly. I might also be looking at a couple. I might also be looking at a couple of mediums. Mediums are a lot cheaper right now, $274. And there's a lot of them at this price. What I would do, if it was me, and I was investing right now and I had $1,000, because I'm also looking at the, let's look at medium, legendary, sorry. We're going to look at the legendary large. All right, so it's currently selling for $900. Its lowest it ever sold for was $340. It was selling on average, lowest for $550 this month. $1,500 was the most. 2.5 hours. So even at $900, there's a lot of discrepancy between the all-time high and where it currently is. You know, it's not a bad price right now. $900 for this overall is not a bad price. Well, let's look at the medium. Let's look at the medium legendary, which right now we can see is selling for $275, right? Well, at the top it was $1,200. At the bottom, it was selling for $100. It's selling for $275 right now, which is, it was selling for a lot more. It was selling for more. It's not a bad price. It's not a bad price. So what might I, if I had $1,000, what might I be considering right now? Well, I might be considering that I want to have this. This is going to give me, because it's a medium, it's going to give me 3 exits, but I want to use all 3 of those exits. So I don't want to use one of these as a throughput to another room. So what would I do? Well, I'd probably pick up a rare small. If I picked up a rare small, I can then use those 2 exits to attach 2 medium legendaries. Let's work out the costing of that, shall we? Let's look at where we currently are in the market. A rare small is going to set you back around $75. All right, so let's look at this. We're going to have a new sheet here, and we're going to see we've got $1,000 to spend, all right? $1,000. So for that, I would spend somewhere in the region of $75 for a rare small. That would allow me to go and buy the 2 legendary mediums at $275 each. So let's just move this over here. So we're going to go for $275 and $275. Ledge medium. All right, and then what we're going to do here is we're going to do an equal sum. And we're going to work out the cost of all of this that we buy. And that is going to be the total investment minus the cost. All right, so this is spent remaining. Okay, now we know that we've got space, and hopefully that space, we feel like that space, even though we're paying more than what people were paying last week, last month, it still feels like it has been worth more in the past. It could be worth more in the future, and hopefully that value will go up. Specifically when they introduce the set bonuses and people realize that they want to be getting that space. So holding somewhere in the middle, the legendary mediums, or a legendary large if you can, might even be better. It's up to you. I mean, you know, could be good, could be bad. But that could be a good investment to be able to hold that. Because we know they're going to have utility in the future and we know they're going to push that. Also, by having them, you'll be gathering cracked hourglasses, which you can then, when you do get a time warden, you can process those. You can make a little bit of big time as a result of that. All right, so we've currently spent quite a bit of money. We've got a bit left. What else do we want to look at? Well, time wardens, we've already identified they're just not worth it right now. So whilst we do want a time warden, we really want to try and pick one up, if we can, around a 200 mark. So time warden, we're going to say common. All right, so we don't have that right now, but that's kind of what we're looking for. Even if they go down to 250, maybe we can look to do that. We don't have much money left, but that's what I would be looking at, around a 200 to 250 mark. It's just not worth buying it otherwise right now. Okay, so what else do we need to do? And again, for the time warden, I would wait for the leaderboard airdrop, and I would wait for the postcard airdrop, and I would wait for the team to introduce a new supply before I bought a time warden right now. Okay, so then coming back, we've done that. Now we can look at workshops. We need to look at crafting. So let's go to workshops. There are two types. If we ignore the time warden, we've got the forge and the armory. Okay, forge and the armory. And we know that we're not doing anything above legendary. So right now, there's just no point looking above legendary. So we're going to sort these into low to high price. And again, these aren't currently the meta, so they're kind of being overlooked right now. That means you can pick yourself up an armory for under $100. Right now, you can pick one up for $95. It might be worth you picking up an armory and a forge. Now, again, you're going to spend $95 and $85 as a result of that. So let's just say $95 for an armory and what was that, $85 for a forge. Okay. Now, you're going to be looking at about $200 for a time warden. You're also going to need some crystals. So initial price for crystals is going to be about $5. Let's just say you buy 2 packs of them for now. So we're going to spend $10 on those. And also, you're going to want to get that set bonus. Now, that set bonus you don't know right now. And the reason you don't know right now is because the collectives aren't in the game. But there is at no point does it say that they have to be the same rarity. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But it might be worth you picking up a couple of commons, $25 each. So let's go ahead and do that, shall we? We'll go to here. And we're going to say armory common. So I'm just going to put arm common. $20. All right, so you're going to want to get 2 of those. So now you're going to have eventually, remember, you're going to have six slots where you can put things. So you've got 3 armories, 1 forge, 1 time warden. So now you might go for a second forge, you might go for a second armory. Were they 20 or were they 25? They were 25, sorry, I apologize. Let me just change the price of that. And maybe another forge. So maybe a forge common as well. Okay? For $20. You've gone slightly over budget at the moment, but for $1,000, if you can get a better deal on these, great. If you can aim to spend around $250 for your large mediums, great. If you can end up spending something like $70 on this, great. If you can end up getting this for about $80, great. If you can end up getting this for like $75, great. That's where you're going to be sitting, somewhere around there. And then $22.50 for these, if you can. There's your $1,000. That's what I would be looking for your entry points. That is how I would spend $1,000. Obviously, it's going to be difficult for you to be able to do this based on the market conditions. But if the token price does go down after the leaderboard drops, it's very possible you're going to start to see these prices even maybe cheaper. As people are not focusing on certain areas, you're going to be able to pick these up. Now, it might be right now for a legendary medium that you don't actually buy one. Maybe you don't buy one because that's quite expensive. So let's go and have a look right now. If we go to the rental space right now, okay, let's say we wanted to rent. Let's say we wanted to rent space. Okay, let's say we wanted to rent legendary space. Let's sort this into low to high. Look at that. Legendary small, legendary small. Let's see if we can find a large. Maybe medium. Okay. So legendary medium space. You could actually rent one right now for $22. $22 to rent this. That's not a bad price, right? That means that rather than buying them, which you could buy them, by the way, because they're not a bad price right now, but instead of buying them, you could actually rent them instead. So if you're looking at your legendary medium, which a legendary medium at the moment you can buy for 250, or, oh no, sorry, yeah, 250. I believe that was correct. I would need to go back and check that, but I believe that was correct. But even so, go to the marketplace. We'll go to space. Yep, 275 to buy it right now, or you could rent one out. So if you wanted to save that money right now, you could simply just rent that, and you could get a 30-day rental on that. Now, obviously, you need to be able to generate that cost back right now. Buying them and holding them in the long term is going to be more beneficial for you because you're not able to really generate much income from these at the moment. So, yeah, just bear that in mind. But at a time when these are working, it could be something that is beneficial for you. I would always recommend buying them if you can, holding the assets. But if you have the Time Warden and you need the space, then yeah, it could be more beneficial for you to rent them. But just bear that in mind. There is a rental market. It does work on some things, but not on others. All right, so now we've looked at everything that we've got here. We know what we want to spend. What comes next? Well, we have to look at how we're going to make money. Are you going to play the game? If you're going to play the game, you're going to need to unlock your hourglasses. You're going to be earning time crystals and big time from playing the game, but you're going to need to open up all 5 slots. Now, opening up all 5 slots, if I just show you this, if we come across to the hourglasses here, in terms of hourglasses, to be able to use them, you need to unlock your slots to have all 5. So your first one you get for free, but then it's $12.50, $25, $50, and $100 to unlock these slots. If you want to run around with 5 hourglasses to get the maximum efficiency, you're going to have to spend $190 up front. So you need to bear that in mind as well. If you're going to play the game, there's some upfront cost there as well. Then you need your hourglasses. Then you need to charge your hourglasses. There's a lot of time involved in doing that. So you have to understand the potential opportunity cost of doing these things. Creating hourglasses and Time Wardens right now is just expensive. And knowing that the market could potentially come down in the near future, it's not the best investment in that area. So I would be looking right now, personally, if it was me, to be picking up my space, picking up my armories and forges, and getting myself to a position where I'm ready for the next iteration of the game. So this is something that I would consider if I was looking at getting into the game as an initial investment, but you definitely will need that Time Warden as well. That is something you will need. But that entry point at the moment is a bit expensive right now, so just bear that in mind. And then what you want to do is consider, as I talked about before, the fable of the golden goose, spending your golden eggs and not killing your golden goose. You want to be able to extract from the game, but you want to reinvest. So maybe look at something like, if you're going to extract, maybe extract 25% and maybe look to reinvest 75% to be able to grow. That way you are taking profits and starting to de-risk slowly, but also you're going to be reinvesting. You're going to be buying time crystals because it's pay to earn. So you're going to need to spend that money as well, which means that the 75% that you reinvest, not all of it is going to go into new assets. Some of it's going to go into operational costs. So you need to bear that in mind and consider that as well. But hopefully this helps. Hopefully this gives you an overview. This was really kind of a thinking about things from a different perspective. What the company is doing, what the community is doing, and what you are going to do as a result of that information. Not based on what's happening now, but what you can see happening tomorrow. Thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.